G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated Podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. Now I know what you're thinking, it's been a while since I've uploaded an episode and we know what that means. Generally speaking, things must be going a little bit difficult for old Elliot, and you couldn't be more correct on that, and we're going to talk about that in a minute and how anxiety has essentially derailed the last 2 weeks of my life and why this is a little bit more serious than other anxious attacks I've had, in the last couple of months. This one was a doozy. I'm going to tell you all about it. Before I do though, I do just want to do a bit of just want to say that if the voice cracks and breaks and doesn't quite get through this episode, that is because last night yours truly was watching the Newcastle Knights defeat the Dolphins here in Newcastle. It was a great game and yours truly was giving it everything on the sidelines. Let me tell you, they're always offside and someone's got to tell the referee because they're not blowing the whistle, and I'm happy to be that person. But anyway, so more about the Knights in a minute, but let's talk about this anxious attack that I've had. Now, these anxiety attacks aren't anything unusual. If you listen to the show for a while, you would know that anxiety, it's pretty much, what underscores everything. It's the fuel to all my other disorders. Generalized anxiety disorder is the one that is rusted on that I just cannot come up with a good way to negate it. I just can't. BPD, I've got coping strategies. The obsessive thoughts, I've got coping strategies. The depression stuff as well. I've got some ideas of how to lift myself out of the hole where possible. All that sort of stuff. But when it comes to generalized anxiety disorder, I just have never had an answer. And the last probably fortnight, probably longer than that, it's probably in the last month, it's been progressively, my anxiety levels getting worse and worse. I could feel it rising and going up and up, and all of a sudden, confident Elliot isn't so confident anymore because the world is a very scary place. It's the whole problem, because of my amygdala, which is a brain region, my favorite brain region, that picks up on fear and picks up on warning signs and threats in the environment. Unfortunately, my amygdalas are dialed up way too high and I'm seeing threats everywhere. Even when I'm going good, I'm seeing threats everywhere. I'm driving my car, I'm about to get T-boned by that bloke there because he's not watching, which isn't true. I just create that in my head. But it's very frustrating because I believe it and I feel it. And that's just one example of many that I could pull out and say about that. But it's gotten, but there's different parameters to this sort of stuff. There's like a manageable level where it's almost comfortable, and then there's beyond. And this is the same in my depression. It's the same with all of my disorders. There's, like the normal run-of-the-mill negative emotion. And I say that as if, quite flippantly, and it's not, because it's torture. It's absolute torture. But there is a level that I guess I'm comfortable with, So I'm feeling X amount of anxiety, 70 out of 100. That is at my upper limit, but I can manage that and I know what's going to happen, which is I'm going to withdraw from things. I'm going to stop talking to people. I'm going to stop reading emails because it scares the bazooly out of me. But within that range, it's like, okay, I know what I'm up against. I know what the outcome's going to be. I just got to try and ride this out as best I can or try and come up with a new way to get around it. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. But when it goes above 70, when it gets to like 90, like it was yesterday, that's when I get scared. Really, really scared, petrified, in fact. So I feel scared because of my anxiety, but what the real kicker is when I'm scared of my anxiety. Hang on, did I say that right? I'm scared because of my anxiety, yes. But when it goes beyond these levels, it's not the scared feeling from the anxiety. It's the anxiety itself, the actual construct that is scary because it's out of control and I have no answers to it and I am at its whim, hands off the wheel sort of stuff. Anxiety's taken the wheel. I just got to hold on tight and hope for the best. And that's what happened over the last 2 days. Now, I am before that actually. So I had another, all this just keeps rolling through my life. I forget things that have happened. Well, I didn't forget this because I was asleep for 3 days. I did the 3-day sleeping thing again where I couldn't get out of bed. And when I did, it would be to go to the toilet or get a drink of water. And then I'll run back to bed for some unknown reason because I'm so fearful. That happened for 3 days. And it was so bad because I've got lots of things coming up at the moment that I got the sweats a little bit again. So not only am I doing the whole sleeping thing, I'm doing the sweating thing, and that's when it goes outside of those parameters. For example, the sweats, when they kick in, that's 100 out of 100. And I'm real scared about that. That is a phenomena that really, really worries me. And that's what's happened this week. 3 days of it. It was hell. It was hell. It was nightmare. And then I got out of that funk, which was great. But then I was so anxious, I couldn't function, I couldn't do anything. And yesterday was so bad. I went for breakfast with my parents, had the day off, fortunately. And we went for breakfast, and I couldn't eat anything. I had a glass of juice, which I like half finished, which is unusual because, I love my juice. And it was good juice too. But, I was just freaking out, petrified. And I even said to him, I'm not super open with this sort of rawness of my story, I guess, in these sorts of settings. But yesterday I was, because I was in big trouble. We're talking almost, look, did I mention the Mater Hospital? I did. I was looking at rehab places to go. We were trying to come up with a plan. I was going to ring the mental health care line. Like, we were in danger zone. This was the emergency sort of stuff. And this is the stuff that really, really scares me. Because like I said, if I'm anxious and I don't want to leave my room, let's not count the staying in bed thing, because that's also horrendous. Let's just say I'm anxious and I don't really want to leave the house too much. That sucks. Don't get me wrong. That sucks big time. I hate it, and it feels horrendous. But I understand it. I can conceptualize it. I can, look at the phenomena for what it is and go, okay, it's going to top out at this level of anxiety. That's going to stop me from doing these things, but I can handle it. It's in control. There's no threat to myself. There's no, the walls aren't crashing in. This isn't desperate, although this really, really sucks, and it does. And I don't want to I want to belittle anxiety as much as I can, but I don't want to trivialize it when it's not in these extreme outside parameter zones, because that sucks too. God, it does. That still stops me from going to Knights games. That still stops me from doing Black Dog presentations. That still stops me from having meetings at the university that are very important, but I'm too scared and petrified to go. It's bad news. But when it gets to this upper echelon of extreme, that's when I really, really get scared, because I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's thinking, what it's thinking. I don't know where it wants to be. It being my anxiety, is doing its own thing. It's running its own race. And that scares the absolute hell out of me. And that's what the last few days have been. Absolute hell. Anxious hell. You know what the worst part is? And people say this a lot, you talk to people about their anxiety and stuff. It's like, some people have a bit of an idea of where it sort of stems from and can pinpoint, where a catalyst or a stimulus for this sort of response is. And I can do that too with a lot of the other anxiety stuff. I can sort of pick that, it was a bad sleep there, or bad diet that day, too much fast food, or I don't know, had an interaction with a customer that wasn't particularly good, or I'm obviously burning myself out at both ends. This is pretty common. So, I'm feeling burnout and anxious because of it. But this particular one, I don't know where it came from. And to be honest, I don't know how I fixed it either, but I'll give myself credit. What I did, so I went with my parents, went for breakfast, which I didn't really want to do, not because I don't have breakfast with my parents or ate breakfast, but because I was so anxious, as I said. Afterwards, we went to the beach and just walked around like on the footpath, overlooking the beach. Newcastle, it's beautiful. It's God's country. If you've never been here before, I'm telling you got to come. I'll be your tour guide. But anyway, walking at the beach, had some, vitamin D, lots of vitamin D going on, getting in the sunlight, and that was good. It didn't fix things, but it stopped it from going backwards further. And then what I did is something I'm pretty proud of. I went for a run. That's how desperate I was. I went for a run. So I've actually been for a run 2 days in a row. The first day, which was 3 days ago, which was horrendous. Like, that was like, all right, I'm giving it away. I'm never doing this again sort of stuff. Like, what happened to the marathon runner? Where's he gone? What's going on? But yesterday I went for a run, and this was in the peak of my anxiety, and I bloody killed it. Let me tell you, I smashed it. It was a great run. I felt so good about myself. Now, don't get me wrong, I still was super, super anxious. But this stopped the pile on. This stopped me from picking out things in my world, in my environment, in my living situations and going, right, I'm going to pick that. I'm going to get all the negative emotion from that I'm not happy about. I'm going to pick this, the fact that I haven't been running. And I'm going to get all the negative emotion out of that I can. What this did was put the brakes on that, put the lid on any further growth of this anxiety tumor. And it was really good because I didn't want to run, especially after the previous run the day before. I thought, this is it. I've got to give it away. This is embarrassing. 34 years old and I'm hanging up the running shoes. But I went for it. It was a great run. I put a lid on things and then it was able to get me out of the hole a bit. I felt all right and I went and got a haircut, something I've been putting off for weeks because, again, this is the anxiety, the normal, which, again, is still super severe. Anxiety has stopped me from getting a haircut. I've been wanting to go for about 3 weeks and I finally did it after this run because I was like, boom, got to keep going. Let's keep these wins on the board. And then after that, I went to the Newcastle Knights game, which was outstanding. And then that sort of washed away all my problems. And then I got out of the hole. So I don't know what it was. I think what it was just doing the right things, but it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do when every step you're petrified of what's coming, every step of the way, feeling the worst, expecting the worst. And often it doesn't eventuate like that, but man, it just gets you. Oh, geez. Like, this is how bad it was. I was, and this happens quite a bit, unfortunately, but yesterday was a big one when I was at the barber's at the shopping centre getting my hair shaved and my beard trimmed. It's not always the most happy environment for me because, there's people everywhere. So I'm sitting in the chair and the barber's he's like, geez, you're a bit hot today. And I was like, yeah, mate, yeah, it's heat. Yeah, that's it. It's not the fact that I'm petrified right now. You should see my knees under the apron, mate. Unbelievable. But what he did was he then used the hairdryer blower thing on cold, and the whole time he's doing my head and my beard, he just had it going, trying to stop the sweat. And I don't know if he knows how much that helped, but that helped so much. And I just sat there going, well, this is the life. This is what it's like living with mental illness. I was thinking about you guys. I was like, this is what happens. You get a haircut and they put the hairdryer on cold because you're sweating bullets because your social anxiety's playing up. This is the reality that we have to live with sometimes, and it's very difficult. But after I was able to get that done, then I felt real empowered. Then it was the mighty Newcastle Knights game, which we won. I got on TV again. So how good's that? And then it all ended up all right. And here we are the next day, feeling okay, ready to go back to work and get stuck into it. So there you go. All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Hope there's some bit of insight there into what it's like living with anxiety disorders. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough at the best of times, but when it really gets out of control, it gets really scary, let me tell you. Anyway, all good. Thank you, everybody. If you're enjoying the show, feel free to like, subscribe, give the show a great rating because that's good for the algorithm. And you can share it around with your mates, and you can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. Until next time, see you later.